Welcome to On the Chain with Jeff and Chip.
Hey, and welcome to On the Chain. This is the Roundtable. I'm here with Chip, co-host, and Rob Cash. Welcome, Rob Cash. It's so amazing to see you, and it's really an honor to have you here on the Roundtable.
I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me on the set.
Man, it's been awesome, man. You know, I love this. You know, we've been communicating with different YouTubers, different influencers in the community, and man, I've been looking forward to having you on the show. And now that we have you on, on the chain, on the Roundtable, this is outstanding. You know, I know we've been communicating for a while, and you've been one of those stars in the community that I've been following for a while. Right from the beginning.
Oh, same here with you guys. I mean, it's a lot of different things you touch on. One of the things that made me come to your channel was that it wasn't just crypto, because there's a world outside of crypto that's relevant to crypto. And that's why I love your channel, man.
I appreciate that. So talking about things outside of the channel, I saw you guys were drinking, you had your coffee cups and you're drinking coffee. I want to start off by talking about that because and find out what you guys are drinking, because I'm drinking something new and it's called Deathwish Coffee. Now I have to bring that up because if you look at the back of this box, there's a warning on it. Now, if you're drinking coffee and there's a warning on the back of the box, wow. It's freaking awesome how it comes. But this is it's outstanding. I'm always on the hunt for good espresso. I've probably mentioned this on my shows before, but I have a buddy of mine bring in some Segfredo from out of the country because we can't get it here. And now I found this, and it's half the price of the other stuff I'm having to bring in. And then I said, hey, this is even better. This is on the same level. And they promote it as highly caffeinated, fair trade and organic, dark roast, bold flavor. And it says ends off by harness your superpower. So if you're looking for good coffee, and I'm not just showing it,
like that.
But this is awesome, man. I'm always on the hunt, but check out the Deathwish. And the reason why I bring that up, but what are you guys drinking? And then I'm going to segue into this segment, but what are you guys drinking?
Oh,
Go ahead, Rob Cash.
Dude, first of all, let's show the Steelers cup here.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
Let's go.
Oh, Rob Cash, you like the Steelers? Wow, I didn't know that.
Actually, I have apple cider water.
Oh, nice. Look at you. Hey, do you have
there we go. I like that.
Do you have Steelers boxers too? By the way, just curious. Like you wear the boxers, the shirt,
everything.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
You know what? I went beyond
Starbucks?
Deathwish.
Huh?
I was saying I moved beyond Deathwish. I just drink death right there. It's even strong. It's twice as strong as Deathwish. I drink death. It's awesome, man.
That's
so
awesome.
actually I drink. I'll tell you what, man. I'm a huge fan. I know people laugh at me and they poke at me and they joke, and my people in my office. But I finally converted our office to it. But I like there's a Starbucks that I really like, and that's what I'm drinking right now. But the rest of Starbucks stuff, I don't drink all those foo-foo drinks. Those like ones that have like 4 pounds of syrup in it. I don't drink those. But I like Pike's Place is the one, man. I freaking love Pike's Place, man. And when I went to Seattle, I was out to Seattle a couple of times, but man, what a dreary city that is. But I happened to be there when it was nice. I pull in there, I'm like, the first thing I wanted to do is like, take me to the original Starbucks. And like, I was standing right in front of it. I'm like, hey man, do you know where the original, I know, that one place where they always show them throwing the fish and stuff. And that one, there's always that one sign of the market.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then some guy goes like, you're standing in front of it. I was like, oh, this is the original one? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay, I guess I'll go in and buy a coffee. But I was really disappointed. I thought there'd be something cool about it. It was just a Starbucks, man. There was like nothing cool about it. It was nothing. It's just like, I guess that was the first one in like 1971 or whenever they started. Wasn't that it was kind of like one of those letdowns, It's kind of like I don't know. You had this big let up. You're super excited about meeting this celebrity or meeting something or whatever. And then you're like, that's it.
Yeah.
And, that was it. It was like no fanfare. There's no parade. There was no dancing bears or anything. It was just going to get a Starbucks. It was cool. I mean, it was like an older Starbucks, but
the mysticism has more wonder than the actual
that's right
personal product. Yeah.
And now you just ruined it for everybody.
I built it up in my head. No, but it's cool, man. It's like I can say I've been to the original Starbucks, you know, but
Nice.
like I don't know if that's bragging rights, you know what I mean? But I
Not so
can
much.
say something else, and I have some bragging rights over Rob Cash and something else, and I'm going to hold that one until the after show, guys.
Awesome. All right. So I'll tell you the reason why I wanted to talk about coffee is mainly because I want to talk about IBM, a new IBM blockchain app. Before I do that, we're going to invite our other guest in, blockchain monkeys, Eagle. Let me add him in here real quick.
What's going on, Eagle, man? What the hell were you doing this morning?
Oh, I was driving back from my client.
Oh, right on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had an early morning client. I was like, "Ooh, am I going to make it in time?"
Okay,
Yep.
because I was about to get on you with CP time real quick.
Yo, I was thinking that in my head. I was like, "Oh my god, here we go."
There you go. Hey, when Rob Cash is on the set bright and early, man, Eagle, you do not play with that
I know.
right there.
I'm like, well, if Rob's going to be up, I'm like,
Man.
well, I got to be on.
That's right.
I mean, Rob Cash
Dude.
is on the set early.
That's right. Bright and early.
In the morning, I get up early. I'm up early. It was really, my wife went to work out. So I said, "You're going to work out?" She was like, "Yes." Okay, good. I won't disturb you, so this works. So it wasn't about me. It was about her, because Saturday she usually sleeps in. I got a crap load of shit in the garage. And I was like, damn it, where am I going to go? So I said, you know what? It works out, because that was the only issue. Other than that, dude, I'm up with the chickens and shit.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, by
look
the
at
way,
that. So
Yeah, we started talking about coffee, right? So we jump in on the coffee. What are you drinking, Eagle? What's your coffee of choice there?
This is just a regular Sunoco A+
Sunoco.
coffee.
That's a gas station coffee, bro.
we just got done talking about Chip just went to the original Starbucks and just
Man.
let it down for anyone that loves Starbucks.
The original one.
The original one in Seattle, my man.
Okay.
The original one. And
he
thanks
said
for thanks for sharing that Sunoco coffee with us. By the way, you know, they don't have Sunocos down here, and I'm from Western New York, you know, originally. And
Okay.
yeah, so Sunocos were everywhere, man.
Oh yeah, you're right. We don't have Sunoco.
We don't
down
have
here
them
at all.
down here, bro.
That's a good point. Yeah, they have them up
Right.
in Michigan too. Sunoco.
Yeah, Sunoco's in Michigan too, because I spent some time in we're not going to talk about this, but Jeff and I both logged some time in Detroit. So we always have these Detroit stories.
Yeah. And Sunoco, actually, I think it's one of the few gas stations that has less than 87 octane. Right? I think they have 86. Is that?
Yep.
I
That's
think
a
so,
good-
right?
You're a gas station historian, man. Look at this guy, man. He's like, oh, by the way, it's Jesus.
But then
What the hell?
when you go to Pittsburgh, I think that's where the Wawa gas stations originated out of too, right?
Well, no, that's out of Massachusetts, no? Wawa?
Is it Wawa?
got
I thought
Wawa
it was out
too.
of Pitt.
Yeah. Pittsburgh has Wawa.
Well, they do have Wawa, but I think Wawa is a town isn't it in Mass?
Oh, I don't know. That was the first
Come
one I
on,
ever went to
dude.
was in Pittsburgh.
That's what I went to. Is right down
I'm
the
gonna
street from
stick
me.
to my story.
Dude, there's a line wrapped around the building, and I was like, "What is this?" And I had to like go to a kiosk. And I like that place, man.
Yeah.
They're giving away free coffee. I like the Wawa.
You get
man.
subs over there.
We
They're
got Wawa
everywhere here.
All
every
right.
corner.
Freaking Wawa. My
You get Wawa. And it's so manly saying that. It's like, hey, yeah, babe, I'm gonna go to Wawa. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I head over to Wawa. What?
I'm gonna go hang out at Wawa's.
Yeah.
So I can.
Weird.
My children like Wawa. I'm like, what the hell? Wawa? Really?
No,
Dad, I
it's
want
all-
to go to Wawa. I'm
hey,
like,
don't discount it, man. They've got some good stuff over there. Good soups too, by the way.
Yeah.
Just saying, yeah, man. And it's great in a pinch, you know. Grab a little bit of gas, grab your coffee, grab a little
Real
sandwich.
quick, gotta go.
And
Get a
it's so-
Sammy
yeah,
to go,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
love it.
That's right.
Where
The
you
local
located,
gas
Jeff?
station down by me is serving gelato now.
Oh yeah.
wow. Okay.
Jeff and I are down in South Florida actually. We live
okay.
weird enough, we live 40 minutes from each other. Isn't that
Oh,
weird?
nice. Well, yeah, Rob. You're in Pittsburgh, right, Rob?
No. I'm in
No,
Jersey.
dude. Don't
Oh,
start.
you're in
We're gonna-
Jersey. Jersey.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
what we're
in
going to talk about
Jersey.
on after show, guys. So you're
Yeah.
gonna have to head over to the after show after
We're
this.
trying to figure out,
Okay.
the whole Pittsburgh Steelers Jersey connection.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to deep dive that one.
Right.
That's a good story. We're going to jump into that, guys. So head over to the after show for that. That's going to be.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna hit that hard.
Get back to
Jeff.
the goddamn call.
So let me segue back into digital assets and blockchain. The whole reason why we started talking about coffee, other than the fact that I was promoting Deathwish but
Deathwish.
I can't stop saying it. It's crazy. Who the hell drinks Deathwish coffee? I don't know. But but anyhow, so I was reading this article that IBM is coming up with a new app a blockchain app to track. So they call it sustainable coffee. I'm kind of getting sick of all these terminologies of sustainable, and, friendly harvest or whatever they want to talk about. But what I think is interesting about it, and I think it's important, because I've read into some of the coffees, and the reason why I like to stick to beans now is because I had read some articles that they were actually putting dirt in the ground coffee, depending on what countries they were coming from to offset, and so so what's interesting about these apps, and when we want to track product, whether it's a coffee bean or a manufactured item, isn't it cool to be able to see it in the blockchain from the originating point all the way through the process? So that's what this app is all about, and they're calling it sustainability. But I just want to talk about being able to track the origin of the product. I think that's kind of cool. And there's others, not just the IBM, working on it. I think VeChain is kind of getting into that, and we can kind of touch on that as well. But what do you think about this whole process? Let's start off by talking about that. I think it's interesting.
I think it's first of all, it's, again, not to veer off that, but that's what got me into VeChain. And not speaking on VeChain, but just the idea of being able to track something from its originating point to your doorstep. I mean, everything from foods to luxury products. I think this is going to be huge across the board, especially something as huge as coffee. Coffee is a big commodity globally, So I think this is a big step, actually.
Yeah. Just look at how serious you take your coffee, Jeff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right there.
Between me and Deathwish.
Just like you, Eagle, Sunoco, man, all the way, Sunoco.
I think it's huge. Yeah.
No, it makes sense. My brother, dude, he takes his coffee seriously. He can't function until I talk to him. Hey, dude, what's going on? I gotta get my coffee. So I mean, but honestly, again, coffee is a big commodity, and coffee has a lot of health properties as well. So this is really a big step. It's revolutionary to be able to track your coffee bean and making sure that how can I say it, that everything's 100%, with it. So I think this is huge, honestly. I think this is huge. Really
I agree with that. I think, if we look at it from a perspective of making sure we're buying what they're telling us that we're buying, and we have to, once it gets documented to the blockchain, we're tracking the process. The other part of it is that, we also see that those that are harvesting from the origin are also getting compensated, properly. They're not being taken advantage of in that process, because a lot of the coffee beans could potentially come the smaller farms in Latin America or other parts of the world, and their whole family relies on it. So you have people that go out and buy beans from these smaller farmers, but they could, who knows, they could be taking advantage of them, paying them peanuts, pennies on the dollar. Then they mark it up and put it in some packaging and sell a box for $50 or $30, and these guys are getting paid $1 for that same quantity. And so that's something that I think is also important in the blockchain process, that we see people getting compensated fairly, for, every step of the process. Obviously not, too little, not too much. I'm not talking about it from a socialistic perspective, but from a, capitalistic perspective of making sure that the process moves the way it should move, I think that's important. You guys agree with that, or what do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's a huge deal now, especially with all the things that are going on with like GMO and pesticides and side effects from all these different foods that they're injecting in our foods.
Yes.
So to have this transparency at this point in life, people are going to jump on that.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and also too, I was gonna say too, it's funny because Jeff, you're kind of describing Starbucks. You go in there, and they make a point to tell you about where it's from and where the origins are. But it's a story, right? It's a story with some nice graphics. We don't know. I mean, we don't, like I said, we don't know what's really happening. And I wonder if, a place like Starbucks, which was very early jumping on this blockchain, they were, we'll accept Bitcoin, we'll accept this and that. But it's funny to see who's really going to jump into blockchain when it comes to tracking stuff, right? Especially when we talk about, and it's one of the projects that I really like is VeChain. I think we jump in a little bit. It might be a nice little segue for VeChain here, because I know everybody here really likes the project, and I know Rob Cash and has done videos on it. And I want to talk about something really important. I saw a tweet out there by my man Ferdy, XRP Twin, about VeChain influencers, and I got really kind of frustrated when I didn't see my man Eagle there. And I was like, so I kind of blew it up and said, so I'm going to put a link down below for you guys to jump out there and jump on that thread.
Now I know that it's there. I didn't know it was there before. I'm on them.
Yeah, so I'm like, I want you to jump on that thread. I want you to jump on that thread. I want you to blow it up. I want you to say, how do you miss Eagle? I'm like, there are people there, swear to God, that I've never, and I know a little bit of the VeChain community because I've been watching it. I'm like, what? And they got like, what?
I pretty much ignore all of it.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like there was like 10 people in there, and there was like one in it was like Japanese or something. I'm like, dude, what? You put who the hell is this? It wasn't a name. It was just like some, I don't know what that is, some Japanese. So jump down there, hit that right now. Go down there and hit that. Jump over there, blow that thread up, and tell Ferdy, get Eagle on that and put him up at the top. All right, I'm not
get his ass on there.
This is me on, man.
One.
I'm like, I was like, I had to tone it down a little bit because I was like, what? Okay, let's be nice about this. I'm like, where's Eagle, man? Come on.
Yeah, like when things start to progress, something is coming. FUD is coming. Like it's on the way. You just got to duck and bob and weave it. That's all.
I know, man, but this is Ferdy, man. This is Ferdy putting this out, man. He's in the XRP community. He's like,
okay,
yeah. So Ferdy's a good dude, and I love Ferdy. I mean, he's one of the guys I talk to probably offline the most. I mean, besides Jeff, because Jeff and I talk 6 times a day.
Yeah.
Or 7. I don't know. We're like always talking. The phone rings, and they're like. And my wife's like, that Jeff? Like,
yeah. We just have a phone that's just always on. It's just, yeah. Just always.
So anyway, jump in there and do that. But let's get into VeChain a little bit, guys. And, this is, so I wanted to, let's chat a little bit about VeChain. So this is a cool project, right? So I want to talk, and there may be some people here on this stream. So Eagle, if you would, just kind of give a little summary for people that may not be as familiar with what VeChain's about, like what's their use case. And one of the reasons that I love this is they've got a strong use case, and there's a lot of news that blows up. And the reason I learn a lot from that is because I watch you guys' videos, and I know Rob Cash talks about it. But Eagle, tell us a little bit about VeChain.
Well, that's like literally what got me in the blockchain. The same reason Rob Cash was talking about is because of their use case. It's so like as a investor looking at VeChain, it's so concrete to me. And just because, things are where they are now, like it doesn't move me or budge me, because I'm looking at a product. I'm like, yo, we need this, whether we want to wake up to it now or wake up to it later. You know what I'm saying? But like the tracking, the wines, the coffee, the sneakers that they're getting into. You know what I mean? It's really, really easy to me to pick that one as one of my choices. Now, absolutely. I spend a lot of my time looking at other cryptos as well, but I don't feel as confident in all of them as much as I do VeChain. And that's the reason why I talk about VeChain so much.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, and the partnerships. How many partnerships they got?
Yeah. Yes. I want to go a little CKJ here. The proof is in the partnerships. That's his like patented line right there. And you know what? There's something to that.
It really is.
Can you guys rip off some partnerships, right? Just some people that they're affiliated with? Because I know a bunch of them, but
I think they're talking with Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but also, aren't they doing something with did I read something about Mercedes or BMW? I knew they're doing something with Walmart out of China.
BMW.
Yeah.
Walmart.
It's interesting too. Walmart's been in the blockchain space for years. They've got different patents. Walmart's also the one that had the whole RFID implantable chip under the skin of people to supposedly for emergency care, but they patented that, so it's interesting where you see, is VeChain going to be used for that? I don't know, but
I don't know.
But there's a lot of people in this space, and when we start digging in, And VeChain makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you a question though. And this is something I think is important, you know, and it's really the connection of VeChain back to China. And and I want to play devil's advocate. I have another thing, you know, when we get into it, I have something else I want to talk about a little, get into depth, also talk devil's advocate, you know, side of it. But what do you guys think about that? Is there any concern that VeChain is connected back to projects out of China?
You know what? I thought about that early on when I first got into VeChain. And just to be brutally honest, there's so many things that can come home to roost, whether it's an American project like XRP or VeChain. Because we all know things start out, you know, for the betterment of people. And it will always get hijacked for government. You know, we just know that. So I really don't get concerned about that, because I've lived long enough to say, well, something's good going to turn into something weaponized. It just is what it is. And the only thing I can say is we're just going to have to take advantage of it. Just like the higher end of counterfeiting comes from China, but yet we have a project that's looking to combat counterfeiting based in China. But I really think, you know, judging from the character of Sonny Lu, that he's actually true to combating that situation, you know, especially having to work for Louis Vuitton, you know. So when you look at a person that started out trying to protect a company that's been around for over 100 years with luxury items, you know, I can say that his foresight is true to dealing with that situation. But will China hijack VeChain in the long run? Absolutely. Let's live in the real world here. Over time, I think now in the immediate time, no. But over time, give it about 20, 30 years, absolutely. Yes. You know, it will be hijacked, just like anything else. XRP will probably be weaponized in the future. We've talked about that. You know, whether it's a world, you know, currency or something like that. And then being that everything will be on the blockchain, no one will be able to escape. You know, we us early adopters, we're going to sacrifice privacy for financial freedom. So with VeChain, who knows how it will be hijacked, but let's live in reality here. 20, 30 years down the line, absolutely. And being in China, yeah, dude. But right now,
it's all good.
Let's capitalize. That's all I can say. Let's
capitalize.
Go ahead.
What do you think, Eagle?
Rob, you made a good point there. I forgot to mention about Sonny Lu. That was like the whipped cream on the ice cream. Once I saw a few of his interviews, and I saw he stayed consistent. You know what I'm saying? Yes. I'm watching him. Yes. I'm watching his mannerisms. I'm looking at his projects. I'm looking at his partnerships. I'm looking at his team. I'm looking for fault and for wrong in him when I'm looking. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But in my conclusion, I could be dead wrong. But I just, I decided to go with VeChain.
No, the project itself is solid. It's definitely solid technology, smart contracts, transactions, partnerships, PricewaterhouseCoopers. I mean, we're talking about big four firms, and I think because of their partnership with Deloitte and PricewaterhouseCoopers and things like that, that's what's getting them the partnerships with big big corporations like Coca-Cola, BMW, and all those other things. And they're going to make sure that VeChain is successful.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, it's solid, and with the price action, it's just perfect storm. I don't know what else to tell people. Same thing with XRP. I know everybody go, how you go from that to XRP? All I'm saying is there's so many things just on the surface that just make sense. After you do the deep dive, it's just really ridiculous. Your head is going to split just on how much sense it makes.
Yeah. Well, I also think too, it's simple. When you look at who's at the helm of a project, I think this means a lot, right? So I've been impressed with Sonny Lu because the way he conducts himself, the way he's spot on with the answers. He doesn't BS it around. You answer like the tough question. He's got an answer for it. He's built a really strong team. And I think that's really what we all look for when we're looking to back a project, right? It's like, okay, use case, but team, right? Who's the team? Because there's other people out there. You've got, Ether with, you got Ethereum, you got Buterin, you've got, and of course we got Bitcoin, which is, I guess.
Lightning Network.
Yeah, we don't know who really.
It's coming, folks. Lightning Network, it's coming.
Yeah, the funny thing about Lightning Network is, and I'll segue here, is like I saw somebody put out a tweet the other day, and they said that what's going on with Lightning because they moved more Bitcoin through the XRPL than they did through Lightning. So they don't need Lightning anymore, man. Lightning to me that's dead because you can move everything instantly. And when I told my Bitcoin maxi buddy, my former business partner over in the UK, and I sent him that thing, he was speechless. He's like, you mean you can? I go, dude, why are you messing around sending Bitcoin to people and waiting around and waiting for the process? He goes, serious? Like,
I would have been like that too. I would have been speechless too.
It changed his whole outlook on XRP. He's like, dude, he was like, he didn't know what to say. And the funny thing about it is, I'm like, so tell me more about Lightning Network, please. I'm listening. Go ahead. Tell me about Lightning Network. You know, I'm like, how much you gonna get Lightning in 3 seconds, man?
I was joking.
Huh?
Let me ask you a question. Hey, Chip, does using the XRP ledger, does that cancels out atomic swaps? Like, just say, you know, I know we're talking about swapping, you know, a particular coin for another, but if you still just wanted to get value to another person, you know how XRP is the bridge asset,
yeah,
for many other assets. Does that cancel out atomic swaps as well?
I was wondering about that.
Well,
can XRP cancel out atomic swaps?
Well, I don't want to say atomic swaps, but I mean, if you want to do a swap, if you want to send Bitcoin through, you send it through the ledger, man, it's the same thing. It's like 3 seconds. You can go ahead and do a transfer. Any coin, and that's the whole idea of what we talk about interoperability is the fact that you can do that. Jungle put something out really early on that blew me away. He put out this video, and he was like showing us how you could take Bitcoin, and I was like, well, I had to watch that like again. I was like, this is incredible. So I got to give a big shout out, big props to Jungle because he put that out there. And this is what we're starting to see. We're starting to see Bitcoin, more Bitcoin moving through the XRPL because that's the interoperability, right? So you can do it. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on a second. This is getting serious. Rob Cash on the set just took the cap off. This is some serious stuff right now, man. I am playing. Someone blew up. So I was talking in the chat, and someone's like, "Have we ever seen Rob Cash without that cap on?" I'm like, "We have. I think we have." And so I'm saying, like, we have now.
Now
right
everyone
on,
has.
Yeah. So
that's how you notice.
Got the same haircut that I have.
What's that, Eagle?
That's how you know the conversation's getting good.
Right on, man. It's starting to get deep. We're getting into the deep weeds, like, you know, we're coming. Yeah, this is getting serious right now. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead, man. You got the floor. Go ahead.
That hat was getting hot, damn it. So was the conversation. You know, I mean, the thing about, you know,
check your mic real quick.
Yeah, well, let's do a mic check real quick. What do you got?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's good right there. Yeah, I was doing a little cracking there. A little.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Probably the signal, yes. We've come so far with, because I've gotten into cryptocurrency in 2016, and I'm just thinking about where we are now. We're talking about supply chains. We're talking about other cryptos being sent through the XRP ledger, things, you know, that haven't even crossed my mind. Because, you know, because all of us got into crypto thinking about how can we be better financially. And and the thing that's so amazing about this space is the things that I love educating myself on now. And I'm quite sure people in the comments, us guys here, you know, think about the things we all pay attention to. I remember before I would get up, check my football scores, all this other crap. Now I get up and I'm seeing what's new in technology, what's going on, because I've always been a government guy seeing what's going on. But everything is connected and so many things make so much sense. And I'm paying attention to, okay, Kelly Loeffler. These people are like rock stars to me now, where before I'm looking at certain, you know, artists and you know, football figures and stuff like that. Now I'll probably shit my pants and pass out if I met Brad Garlinghouse or something like that. You know, or Sonny Lu. You know, it's amazing of the things that we take for importance now. And it makes sense. And we have to, and actually being in this space, we have to stay educated on technology because the things that we're invested in, we have to know what the next project is doing to make sure that whatever we're holding now isn't being pushed out, you know? So all these things, you know, I love the space because it keeps us sharp, you know, because we have to know what's going on now. It's a door that can't be closed. It's a door that can't be closed. And with communities like this, all of us guys talking and sharing, if one person lags, someone else who keeps us, you know, keeps us up to date. I know it's kind of off subject, but I had to put that. I just love it. I love you guys. I love the space, the tech, everything. You know, I just, and it's a good thing for all of us because it actually keeps everyone aware globally too. Think about the people that didn't know what was going on globally. Now, because they're into blockchain, they also have to pay attention to the geopolitical spectrum as well now.
Yeah.
You know, so this is good. This is good.
I was never the one to even think about looking at politics at all. But this space got me checking out what Donald Trump is doing and what's going on over here in this country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you got Kevin. Yeah. Have you guys seen what Kevin Fang is doing with VeChain? You know, he used to work for PwC, 13 years. What kind of connections is he bringing together? Underneath.
Wow.
Sonny Lu's a beast, man.
Did not know that. Yeah. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
My goodness. Don't get me started talking about VeChain all day, all night.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's amazing. I mean, you guys bring up two really important points. You know, checking where the technology is heading, you know, seeing how the government is impacted by, you know, we're talking about VeChain and the impact of, you know, tracking products that we buy, you know, as consumers. You know, we're talking about development, you know, in the economy. You know, there's all these amazing things. So I want to segue into one more thing because I think it's, you know, we can get real serious here, you know, and playing devil's advocate. I was thinking about this when I was walking the dog this morning, you know, so I'm looking at all these different technological advances that are coming through the blockchain. But then even before that, if we look at technology in general, right, we have smart cars coming to the forefront. We have smart houses coming to the forefront. We have our smartphones that everybody runs around with. You know, and now we know that Google's listening. We know Amazon's listening. We know Apple's listening. You know, and so now the only one that isn't really listening on a regular basis is government. And government wants their piece of the listening and tracking as well. We already have GPS technology in our phones, in our tablets, in our cars. I know that OnStar is tracking me everywhere I go at any moment. You know, they know where my car is. You know, so now imagine this, and this is from a devil's advocate perspective. And we brought this up. You know, we've looked at what Canada's proposed in terms of monitoring the purchase habits of their citizens and making sure that they're paying their taxes. I think that's a little Orwellian. You know, they want to control the people. We know where China's going with their social media scoring that can destroy your opportunities to get jobs. You know, if they rate, you know, oh, I jaywalked up, one demerit, you know, and so now I'm thinking about, you know, now we're having smart currency, you know, digital currency. We have the blockchain that's tracking every movement. And so I'm thinking, man, you know, is this going to erode our freedoms, you know, and what are we as a people going to do about, you know, this? Because we know that there's also an overreach by government. Anytime you allow government to take an inch, they're going to take a yard. You know, we've seen it in the U.S. government. You know, we've seen it with the welfare system. You know, we've seen it with taxation. You know, we've seen it with so many things in the U.S. And I have some semblance of hope, at least in the U.S., that the U.S. is still run by the people. It's still, you know, representation of us, but other countries, not so much, you know, whereas like China and the way Europe has been trending and, you know, things that happen down in Latin America, but even this new political climate in the U.S. with the AOCs of the world that are trying to drastically pull this country into a fascist environment to where they do want to control the move, every movement. So what I want to throw out there, and this is on the other side of all these amazing things, what is the propensity of government controlling us through the blockchain and now controlling our spending habits? And that's the one thing they don't do right now. You know, they don't monitor any of this stuff. They don't monitor our spending. They don't monitor our investing. They don't know how much money we have in our savings. You know, and so now they're going to know all of that stuff.
They know it
and
now,
so,
Jeff. Don't kid
I'm
yourself.
sure they know it now, but there's, but what do you guys think? I mean, this is on the other side of it.
Well, with the 1099 forms, I think they said coming up this year, they're going to be asking just a simple question, yes or no. Have you ever bought cryptocurrency, invested in cryptocurrency? Yes. They're starting their little process of seeing what the hell is going on with us.
Yep. And what businesses of theirs, whether or not we bought, if we've sold and made profit, that's where the IRS has a concern, if we made a profit or a loss. And it's really none of their business if we made a loss. If we decide to write off the loss, isn't that our business? It's not their business. If they want a little piece of our taxation, the other part of that is there was an article that came out, and the U.S. has a lack of regulatory clarity. I mean, there's nothing going on. We talked about this last time. The U.S. is just hopelessly lost in this, embroiled in fake impeachment hearings. And so now we've got, and then they're talking about World War III and blah, 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 we're killing terrorists and the whole world's falling apart. But now, the IRS is talking about if you donate, and there's an article I read, if you donate more than $5,000 in digital asset, you need to have those digital assets appraised because they see it as property. What kind of bullshit is that? How do you get it appraised? You go on the coin market
By the
cap
way,
or
Jeff,
Gecko, whatever, and there
I'm
you
an
go,
accredited
valuation.
I'll tell you what, I'm an accredited appraiser, so just pay me, and that's how it works.
That's not really $5,000. That's pennies. Just give it to me. I'll handle it.
It's ridiculous.
That's a load of crap. I mean, first of all, if I'm not mistaken, I was listening to a conversation with it wasn't Jim Rickards. God, for the life of me, I can't think of his name at the moment. And he was talking about the IRS's position so far as fiat currency, basically with the U.S. dollar, and how really anything that you do with the U.S. dollar, they're pretty much that's like anything with the U.S. dollar, the IRS is in control of, just for lack of a better term. They're in control of. Anything outside of the dollar, like silver, gold, even cryptocurrencies, they have no beholden to, because first of all the interest is paid back to the IRS in U.S. dollars. So anything that you commit to in U.S. dollars, that you fall in line with that. But anything outside of that, just say if you made gains in gold, or silver, anything like that, you don't pay taxes on that because it wasn't in U.S. dollars. I hope I'm explaining it right. So
sell it until you sell it for U.S. dollars.
Yeah, exactly, until you sell it for U.S. dollars. But as long as you hold it in its true form, they have no access to your gains or anything like that. So that's why I'm wondering, okay, it's just keeping it simple, cryptocurrency, of course, can't be taxed until you cash it out for fiat, right? So as long as how can you tax, just say if I'm going to give to a charity in cryptocurrency, I'm not taking it out in fiat or anything like that. How can you tax that when it's still in its original state and it wasn't swapped out for fiat? How can you get your grimy ass paws on it?
That's it, and that's even a transfer, Rob. If you move XRP to Bitcoin, and there's a realized gain, you have to pay tax on that.
Really?
Yep.
If it's a realized gain, and
if it's a realized gain, yes, exactly. That's the biggest issue. That it's insane. Yeah. So if you're XRP and you made money on it, if you bought XRP at a penny, and whatever the valuation of Bitcoin was at the time, and now it's worth 20 cents, you just have a realized gain of 19 cents on that XRP. You have to pay tax on that difference, even if you move it crypto to crypto, and it's so confusing. The whole thing is confusing. And so now even if you give, so now they're saying if you donate it, now you have to have it appraised. And so now I've donated. Does that mean that if I made $1,000 on my donation because I'm giving it to someone else now, does that mean I have a tax implication? I mean, they're because they see it as property. Can I write it off? But now they're saying appraise it. Is there, it's the whole thing. I don't think they understand it either. They're making it so confusing.
They don't.
Yeah. That's what's going to take clarity even longer, because they're adding more confusion. to the
Yeah.
space.
If we're
Yeah, or to the
confused on how
assets.
they're trying to explain it, imagine how they're trying to explain it in their confusion. Yeah.
And
It's
then,
just
imagine,
insane.
and then imagine new people coming into this space trying to learn from them.
Oh boy.
Right. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
A cluster F we have in place
Yeah.
right there. Hey guys, I wanted to do a
Thank
little
God for them.
transition here because I think this is an important topic right here. So I don't know if you guys know, but I'm also a diehard Heat fan. Miami Heat fan. They're from the beginning, from first game, and 2 championships. So I just wanted to say that. But anyway,
I saw you, Rob. He put his Pittsburgh cup out, so I put my Eagles.
man, we're gonna get into that in the after show. By the way, we're gonna drill down on that. I don't have any Bills gear because I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, so Carlos Domingo, who's from Spice. Spice is a venture capital firm that invests in companies that tokenize. So he put out this really cool tweet. He said they're extremely excited and proud that the digital transfer agent and technology partner for none other than Spencer Dinwiddie, who basically is tokenizing. This is a first as far as I know of, but Securitize is the partner who's going to be the transfer agent that's going to be doing this. And so to drill down on this a little bit, one of the things he's doing is he's gonna sell 90 tokens roughly for about 150K each to investors. And after a year, you can go ahead and trade them. So I guess the idea is that they could potentially go up in value, and the digital security will pay out 4.95%, basically 5% interest on a monthly basis, fully pay it out when it matures in 2023. Now, this is based on his new contract. So the first that we've got a pro athlete who's going forward and tokenizing part of his contract. What do you guys think about that? Are you guys familiar with this? I think this is huge. And I think this is what we talk about, global adoption, what's going to get out there. This is going to help get it out there. When you start seeing a pro player that's tokenizing part of their contract, the potential to pay interest, to move up in value. Now, what if that trades when it matures and that doubles or quadruples? This right here, to me, this is how we get the global adoption. I wanted to hear, either Eagle or Cash, or what do you guys have in this? Do you think this is a good thing for the space?
Absolutely. I mean, actually, I heard about this a few months ago, and I think I came across an article yesterday. I didn't read it, but I saw some progress in his tokenization for his contract, because I think he was stopped short a couple of months ago. I think the league tried to stop the tokenization of his contract. If I'm not mistaken.
No, you're right about that. He had to negotiate with the NBA to be able to do this. But I don't know, man. I think cooler heads prevail, because I think that the NBA had to concede that this is the future, man. Like, because I do think they did stop him from doing it, because this was news months ago, and then all he does is, did it happen? And so, yeah, that's exactly what happened. He had to go through a negotiation period with the NBA. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting, because so according to this article here, the league's biggest objection had to do with the third year of his contracts, which gave him leeway to opt out and pursue a more lucrative one, right? So he had to promise investors that, significant dividends in the case that he did land a richer deal in the third year. So it looked like they were pretty much on board, but I think it had to do with the third year of his contract, being able to go into free agency and maybe find something better. So, but it's interesting, because like that might be the best news coming out of the Nets. I mean, the Nets have had a banner. I mean, I'm not going to get the NBA, but they had a really good off season, man. They had a really good off season. It's funny to see. I think when we start looking at any pro sports, whether it's in the U.S. or, football, they call football, not American football, but soccer, what we call soccer outside the U.S., I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of this, because you're starting to see in some of the leagues, like in the Premier League, where they're tokenizing stuff, right?
That's going to make the game so much more fun, too, for people.
Right? And I think too, so. It's I mean, where does this go though, Igor? Where do you see this going? Because we talked about VeChain tracking stuff, right? We're talking about tokenization. What other possibilities could this open up on the on the sports side of things, we're starting to see sports betting that's available, I think, in more than 10 states now. So you don't have to go to Vegas to place bets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a great thing. Like thus far, I'm just going to need to see a little bit more going on with it. You know what I mean? To really feel concrete about it, because I know some people in the league ain't too happy about that yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's interesting that you bring up sports betting, because being that we was talking about segueing into other altcoins, casino coin too. I mean, if we're going to talk about gambling and sports betting and stuff like that, casino coin I think would corner that market. Now, casino coin, it was forked from the XRP's blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And it took all the attributes of XRP: interoperability, fast transactions. That's all I'm going to say with that. People, do your research on that. Because again, if you're going to talk about sports and we're going to talk about betting, I think that would be a lane for casino coin. Now, if you're going to add VeChain to the mix, I would think VeChain would be a segue into that market if you're going to talk about authenticating products coming from the league or anything like that, or products getting products authenticated coming from these players or something like that. That would be VeChain's lane. And I can see that a lot of these things, interconnecting from that perspective. And sports is huge.
Yeah, and also
huge. I'm talking about NBA,
sports memorabilia,
soccer,
and all that.
all of it.
Yeah, well, casino coin
Yeah,
too.
like
Exactly, Jeff.
One of the things I think regulators will like about casino coins, the visibility into the origination of funds, right? So this is something they had no clue where this is coming from before. So now they've got visibility.
Yes.
And I think that's where, and that's what I like about casino coin too, that they're working, see, if you start a project with regulation in mind, you got a better chance of success. Jeff and I look at some of these projects sometimes, we talk about them, and it's like, they're not on any exchanges that are KYC. Why? Because they're doing shady shit, man. They're doing some bad stuff, right? And
Exactly.
like, if you don't go into it with that in mind, if you're not trying to work with regulators out of the box, your project is destined for failure.
You could even because there's some
it's a wish coin.
Yeah.
Wish coin.
Go ahead, Eagle.
You'll come into some.
Create that.
You come into some projects that you really, really like, and then you're looking in and you're like, well, how, are they regulatory compliant? And once they're not, I'm out.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
So wish coin at that point, man.
Yeah.
So
I love
what is
that,
it going
man.
to do? It's best to cut the red tape at the beginning.
Yeah.
Get through all the red tape at the beginning of your project, so that way when the rubber's ready to meet the road, you hit the ground running. And that's what it's about. Is when it's time for it to fly, you don't want to be stagnated. Get all the regulators, and that's why it's smart. Again, because all roads for me lead back home to XRP. If you look at it now, look at their executive ecosystem. They got former regulators and things of that nature, and people from the banking industry, and actually casino coins doing the same thing. They got people from the gambling and gaming industries, coming aboard, their project. And all of these things start from the beginning. You kick down the doors of regulation, and not only that, having the people that control these industries coming on board with the project. That's where you get that's where you get the momentum from, and that's where you get the success from. You get the people that control those particular industries, and you get the, conversation going with the regulators. That's how you be successful. To me, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, well said. I like
from XRP. Ripple.
Wish coin, man. I think you just coined something.
I like
new
the
right
wish
there.
coin.
The wish coin.
I think we're going to create that now.
Yeah, wish coin.
We're going to get a wish coin. We're going to make it regulatory compliant per Rob Cash. Otherwise we're dead in the water, man. We ain't going to make it.
So I know Eagle's got to run. I think he's got another client coming in.
Yeah.
So I don't, I know you were coming from a client. You got us in. It's awesome having you here. We don't want to tie you up. So it's amazing. We definitely want to have you back on again.
Absolutely.
I think
can't wait to do this full time.
That'd be awesome.
Man.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, right.
That would be awesome.
24/7.
24/7.
24/7.
Streaming all the
Eagle,
time.
To that.
before you go, take a look at this, Eagle, before you go.
Oh my God! Well, at least you're in Pennsylvania. So.
Yeah, and I'm a Bills fan, so I'm not showing I'm not showing anything here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up outside of Buffalo, and
Yeah.
Thank you guys
Yeah.
so much for having me.
yeah,
That
man,
was
good having you,
awesome.
Eagle.
I'll
Well, you
keep
guys
talking
know
to
both.
you.
I wanted to say both, by the way. Go to onthechain.io, where you will see Rob Cash and Eagle, both contributors to On the Chain, and you'll see some of the other contributors. And I want you to go to the site because I want you to go follow them. If you happen to wander in the stream and you're not following, Blockchain Monkeys, which is Eagle and Rob Cash on the set, please go over there. There's a link on the site. You can go over there and follow them on both Twitter and YouTube. And please click the link below because we got to get Eagle on, as he's one of the most influential people in VeChain. Please click that link and get him on that survey, man. That's it. So, hey, man, good having you. I know you got to bounce.
Greatly appreciate you guys, and I'll be back soon.
Awesome.
All
Okay,
right, man.
sounds great,
Sounds
Eagle.
good.
All right,
Talk soon.
thanks. All right,
brother.
we'll see you
Cheers,
soon.
man.
All right, so with that, yeah, I wanted to segue into something else, and we're kind of coming up
Yeah,
on
we're coming up on time,
about
though, Jeff.
50 minutes, so we'll wrap this up here in a minute. One last couple last topics, then we'll move on. But here's interesting. We've been talking about government. We've been talking about all these great things, and not government, but all the other stuff that was great. But here's something interesting because there's from a regulatory perspective in the U.S., the federal government is hopelessly lost, but the state governments are moving towards adoption of blockchain and some regulatory clarity. 2 states in specific just made the news. One is Virginia, and it looks like Virginia is looking to implement blockchain for state elections, which I think is interesting. And I would really like to see blockchain incorporated at a federal level, but even if you can start it at a county and state level, to make sure that every vote is counted the right way and that the voting rolls are actually edited, and make sure that we don't have any shenanigans going on, as we know that have happened even in South Florida. Mickey Mouse has voted multiple times in elections, as well as dead people.
Well, that's because but Jeff, that makes sense though, because he's from Orlando, right? He's from Disney World. So
that is true. Yeah, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and the whole lot of them. So we love having them vote. But the other side of that, in Illinois, actually, they have now legalized blockchain contracts, and now a blockchain contract, is a legal form of documentation. So all these things, we know Wyoming spearheaded. Now we're seeing Illinois, we're seeing Virginia. All these states are starting to embrace. What do you guys think about that, Rob? I think it's significant. We need regulatory clarity. Forget the Fed. Let's focus on the state. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, and when you think about it, the states are the actual boots on the ground. The states are closer to the people. The Feds is like the big corporate executive. He doesn't know the guy in the mailroom, but the states are dealing with the people. That's boots on the ground. And I think not only that, with the states moving forward with it, it makes things more clearer on how it can be used for the federal level, because we also want to include Arizona with that as well. So when you look at it, and even though these states are not interoperable with each other with blockchain, but it will happen. So let's start in their pool first, and then these pools can interconnect. So I think it's very important to get this started on the state level, from voting to taxes, anything, to vital statistics. All these things, matter. The rubber's going to meet the road with the state, because I think they will give the feds a better perspective on how to, implement blockchain.
That's a great point. So what do you think, Chip? If the states adopt, does that force the Fed's hand?
Well, I'm not sure if it forces it, but I do think that it bubbles up. I agree with what Rob Cash is saying, because I think that if we take a look at one of the things that I love about the way, when I look at U.S. government, one of the things that I really liked and what I thought worked well, I kind of think the federal government screws stuff up. And I think Rob Cash making an important point here is that boots on the ground is really important. It's like, so if one state wants to pass and say, and put their own clarity around it and say, okay, from now on, cryptocurrencies are blah, 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 this and that. I like that because I do think that it starts to create, like when you look at Wyoming, Arizona, Illinois, Virginia, we start seeing this starting to come together. I think the biggest problem that the Fed is facing is they're seeing what these other countries are doing. I think they're afraid of a misstep. I think they're afraid of having to go back, doing the wrong thing out of the gate, and then retracting it. And you see this when the SEC talks about it. They're constantly talking about, we want to do the right thing. We don't want, why? Because if they go ahead and enact something and all of a sudden they realize 6 months later that was the wrong move, it's going to be really difficult to undo something. So I do think that that's a concern for them. And what I like about the way the U.S. is formed is that you've got these 50 states. And if a state, and this is before gay marriage was passed on the national level, I had a friend from college, and he got married up in Massachusetts, and then he ended up coming back to Florida. So he legal in Mass, but he came down here, and it's like that's what I liked. If the state wanted to pass something, you might hear my dog barking in the background, but if you wanted to pass something on a state level, I think that's really key. And that eventually the national it'll bubble up nationally, but the U.S. has to make a move. I kind of think stuff's kind of curtailed until 2021. Why? Because we got an election coming up this year. We got Congress in deadlock. I mean, if you want to talk about Trump's numbers, talk about Congress's numbers. They're polling at an all-time low, just because they got their heads in there. They're supposed to work for us, right? That the representatives of us in our state, senators, 2 senators per state, are supposed to work for us. Man, they got so power hungry. I don't want to get off on a political rant, but I think that we've lost focus in this country. And I think that's affecting everything. You have Maxine Waters, who's had the Token Taxonomy Act sitting on her desk since, I want to say May or June of last year. We're coming up almost on a year. So, what are they doing? What are they doing for the greater good of the country? Nothing. They're complaining. And so I do think that when it starts happening on a state level, it ultimately does. I don't know if it forces the hand, but I do think it's like, because eventually what happens is the government and the national level says, whoa. They feel like they got to jump in, like, oh man, what's going on over here? I got to jump in here. I got to touch it. I see that these states are doing this. And then they get interested because they're more interested from the power side of like, hey, no. We as a federal government, we got to tell you what to do. And I don't like that. It's one of the things I've always loved about the U.S., the way it was founded, is that you've got your constitution for the U.S., but each state has their own constitution, their own form of government. If they want to pass stuff, like, for example, this is really important to me. This daylight savings time, I'm really pissed off about it. Man, just set it and forget it. So in Florida, Jeff, I think we passed it, 2 years ago, maybe?
Passed it a couple years ago. It's got to go to the Fed.
Dude, we passed it a couple years ago saying there's no more daylight savings time. I hate when I come home from work and it's dark out. It's like dark in the morning when I get up. It's dark in the morning. I'm like, what happened to my life and my day? And I got to deal with this for a couple of months. And I'm like, we passed this shit in Florida. I'm like, so I'm saying this is something that we passed on a state level. And now we're waiting for what's the one state in the U.S. that doesn't have it?
Arizona.
Arizona. Man, I might have to move to Arizona. They seem like they got some stuff going on over there. So I know it's a long rant, but I do think, Jeff, what's your thought? I mean, do you think this is going to happen anytime soon? Are we going to see any sort of clarity, man?
No, honestly, I think that it's gonna take some time. So it's gonna be regulation in the U.S. I agree. It's gonna be tied up until after the election. So we got to get through 2020. I think the states are gonna embrace it. I think it's easier from our perspective to start pushing our state representatives on these topics than it is our U.S. Congress. The U.S. Congress, like you said, is in a deadlock. You see similar things at the state level. We can't impact the county level as much or the cities or towns, but if we can get to the state, that's where it's important. And start pushing and say, hey, look what Wyoming's doing. Jobs are going to go there. Look at what Illinois is doing. Jobs are going to go there. Look at what Virginia's doing. All these states are doing that. So if we look at our own states, you look at New York, they chased Amazon out of New York, because of a congresswoman, that's insane. We want jobs, so, I mean, every state should be worried about the economy of their own area, and it's the people that are impacted. Why should a federal representative impact what happens at the state level. That was a disaster. So that's beholden on us then to get more actively involved. And everyone forgets about our state politics. I think that's where, I think that's important. We can start getting a little bit of traction and start pushing our state reps to start embracing blockchain. And then it has a direct impact. From a federal level, eventually the U.S. is going to fall so far behind that small countries like Bermuda are going to be the kings of the blockchain. And they're going to start controlling the economy, because you don't need a massive, you don't need a massive, federal government or central bank or, anything like that to control the economy when it goes into the blockchain at that point. That's Bermuda's, number one. If they're going to take that lead, it's going to be interesting, or the Marshall Islands or whatever. People are going to look to them and for guidance. So it's kind of crazy. Everything's a little bit upside down.
Yeah, I agree. It's the double-edged sword. It's funny because by the U.S., again, we all don't know the actual particulars of why they're so slow, because if they don't want to move fast because they're scared of a misstep, moving too slow, you can still have that same misstep because you're going to rush in fear of other countries, progressing better than you would like them to. And then it's going to force your hand to do something rational, and you're still going to miss that. I mean, just think about it. What you said about Bermuda. Then if the U.S. go, oh my God, okay, we have to do something now, that's still going to force your hand to misstep, and rushing, because for political reasons, you do not want them to become the leading factor in this new emerging technology. So it's still going to force your hand to do something that, that can create a misstep. So it's
I like that.
This space is nuts.
It is.
Yeah.
Things
change fast.
It's just watch.
We're coming up on time, Jeff. I think we probably should think about,
Yeah, any parting words? Let's wrap up this segment, and you guys can definitely check us out on the after show. So we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna get some parting words here. Hopefully we can get some. We'll have some great conversation to look back on, in the stream. So if we leave some comments below in the video as well, because we love having the after premiere conversation continuing, and then you guys can join us over on Coil for the after show, and that's where we're going to talk a little bit about sports preference and try to dig into all of that irrational thought. So, Rob, any parting words? Anything you want to leave everybody with? Any shout outs? Anything good?
You know what? Just for people in the space, new or seasoned, everything matters. Geopolitically, these things might be boring to you, whether you want to keep up with finance or, like I said, geopolitical spectrums. These things matter. Pay attention to what's going on around you and do your due diligence. Don't depend on YouTubers or people on Twitter for your business, okay? Stay abreast of what's going on and pay attention, because it matters.
Damn, that's a good
sense.
closing statement, my man. Nice.
Yeah. Chip? Any closing statement here?
I don't know, man. I can't follow that. That was spot on. The only closing statement I have is go to onthechain.io. I want you to do two things before you leave here. I want you to click on that link below to go out there. Let's get Eagle on that influencer list. Also, I want to say go to onthechain.io, because that's where you're going to find the contributors here. Rob Cash, a contributor on the chain. Go follow the channels. We all are doing stuff in the space, but he's spot on about that. And I want to thank everyone for being here, man. It's this community that I love. It's you guys out there that I love, because you make a difference in the community. Your participation, whether you're coming in here and talking and throwing around topics, I want to just say that your participation in this community, whether it's on Twitter or whether you're on whatever your medium is, you make a difference, and I want you to know that you make a difference. And I want to thank you for the support. And click the link below. You'll be able to click that link and go over to the Coil. And again, we're trying to blow up Coil because we want Coil. We believe in this platform because of the way that they're, it costs $5 for a subscription. And what you're doing is all kinds of content creators. There is some amazing content on Coil. I want you to check it out. Go over there. Man, I read some cool blogs every day. And a lot of them have nothing to do with crypto, but there's some fun stuff over there. I'm also going to start putting my link below too, because I've been writing some stuff too. not important, just goofy, weird, some slice of life stuff. I call it
poop or something.
Yeah, I wrote my last story about poop, but don't get mad. Send them poop. There's a poopsenders.com. You can send somebody some gorilla poop. You can send them some elephant poop. And it's gonna be fun when they open that up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So what a way to end it, Jeff. Thanks for that. Wasn't gonna go there, but thanks, man.
You're welcome.
So guys, I'll see you guys later. Chip out.
We are out of here.
And we're out.
Off the set.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.